Hey T fans, Monk here with a Monk bite on tent versus hammock. Tenting versus hammock. And now if you notice, I did just call it a Monk bite. I inadvertently switched my trail bites to Monk bites in the last episode. And I kind of like the Monk bites. You know, it's a little creative thing came to me. Yeah. So we're going with Monk bites. I'm not going to re-tape the other ones to call them Monk bites, but don't get confused. Trail bite equals Monk bite. For now, we'll go with Monk bites until my wife tells me that's a really stupid idea, and then we'll go back to trail bites. It's a fluid situation here on the trail. So anyway, let's to the topic at hand: tent versus hammock. Okay, first of all, the Monk used a tent and a sleeping bag, so I was always looking for ground. The one thing that I would at least explore very seriously would be switching to a hammock rather than a tent on the trail. And I would do that. The primary reason is one of the more, again, for me, one of the more stressful aspects of the trail was finding a good tent spot. You know, based on where I was. There are sections where you can go for miles and miles and miles and miles, and there is no sufficient place to put down a tent or any place that you'd want to. It can be challenging sometimes to find level ground, and level is key, because if you set, anyone knows, you set up a tent on level ground, you're sliding down all night, and if it's raining, it's a mess. So it was really important to me to find a good, usable, site to strike my tent, set up my tent. And that was one of the greater challenges I experienced on the trail. So having said that, that's another real life thru hiker. He doesn't know I'm talking about him because he's got the earbuds in. That's something Monk's not a fan, just personally, again, personal preference, just because I want to experience nature. I was out here for a reason, not to be listening to Bon Jovi or whatever, nothing against Bon Jovi. Anyway, but I digress. So the one thing that I would consider differently is a hammock. And the reason why I would consider that is because a hammock is incredibly versatile. All you need, 2 trees, to set up your hammock, and those are plentiful. There's no shortage of that. I just think it would just opens up so many more possibilities that you just don't have with the tent, particularly if you're going at a busy time and there are lots of people. You get to some areas and you're out of luck because all those sites are taken. And I had a pretty couple miserable nights where, man, I'm searching far and wide just to find a spot to put my tent. And that's tough. If I've hiked 25, 26 miles and I'm tired and I'm stressed and I just need to find a tent site, it didn't happen a lot, but in the few times it did happen, it was enough to make me rethink. So here's Monk's suggestion to you. If you're gonna go on a thru hike, what I would do, and what I would do again, is during my training hikes, I would test out a hammock. And I would see if it works for me. Because it's a lot of different issues with a hammock. First, one, you gotta have a tarp, overhead, and you need something underneath because the cold air is gonna come up underneath you. And there's, but I know people that did it and they just loved it. So it's a big decision, and really the only way to do it is to get out there and test it out. Get out there and test it out, and find out what works for you. So that's what I got on that one. Monk out.